Jussie Smollett is an actor from France. He was in Chicago late at night and was the victim. He was the victim of a racist and homophobic attack. You see, Jussie Smollett is gay and he is black, not just French. Apparently, when he was walking down the street late at night, two white men came out of the shadows with MAGA hats on and beat him up. Tied a rope around his neck, called him all kinds of niggas, and put some bleach on him and ran off into the night. The whole country was up in arms. He was talking about it all the time on the news. And for some reason, African Americans, we were like oddly quiet. We were so quiet about this shit that the gay community started accusing African American community of being homophobic for not supporting him. What they didn't understand is that we were supporting him with our silence, because we understood that this nigga was clearly lying.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. If you haven't heard the news, the unfortunate news that Jussie Smollett, or Jussie Smollett, is going to walk, or has walked. He is no longer... He's been acquitted of the crimes, and it seems it was done on a procedural means, like, you know, the double jeopardy. You can't be charged for the same crime twice, and, you know, there was obviously some, I mean, this could have been the play all along, have the prosecution. Well, the prosecution, Kim Fox, was in communication with Jussie Smollett, so she's the prosecutor, not the defense attorney. She was in communication with his sister, with Jussie Smollett's sister. And they were talking about how the case should be handled. You know, and then she recused herself and said, well, I have connections with the Smollett family. But she appointed her right-hand man to be the prosecutor. And she appointed him to a position that didn't exist before. So you can't tell me there's a lot of stuff that's gone wrong already with this. But yeah, they clearly didn't want to prosecute him. They clearly didn't want to punish this guy. They didn't want to persecute this guy. So he walks free because of bad prosecutors. I mean, it's just the state of affairs, man. It's sad. It's sad. But thank goodness, I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, I guess it's a good thing that they can't do the double jeopardy because, I mean, imagine if they could just keep retrying Kyle Rittenhouse for the same crime over and over again. So... as bad and sad as it is that there was already corruption when the case started, you know, I mean, I guess it's kind of a win, but not really. You know, it's like they were incompetent on purpose in order to make him walk, you know, and this is why this country's not going to work unless we have a religious and moral society. Like, if you don't answer to some higher authority, you'll lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead. I mean, this country, like, I think I was listening to Milo Yiannopoulos talk about this. This country will reward liars and cheaters if we're not a moral, righteous, and religious country. Because as long as you can lie, cheat, and steal your way to the top, nobody's going to stop you. Now, if somebody had conviction, be like, I cannot do this because it is wrong. It's morally wrong. I cannot do this.
Yeah.
But again, you know, we live in this society where it's like nothing matters. Morality doesn't matter. Just whether or not I win is what matters. It's the same thing going on with sports, too. You know, it's like these people doing these technicality wins where it's like, well, technically he stepped over the line. You know, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah. Which, I mean, eventually I think that it will someone who lies constantly, it's not going to turn out for them good in the long run because people will eventually catch on to the lies. Like, you can get away with it like it's a short-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually people are going to catch on to it, and you're going to completely ruin your reputation.
Absolutely.
I agree. In the short term, yeah. I mean, it's like a lie will make its way around the world, you know, before the truth has a chance to even get its pants on or whatever the saying is.
It's true. It's true.
But I've got the AP's article about it right here, and we can just put our 2 cents in on it along the way, but it said in Springfield, Illinois Supreme Court on Thursday overturned actor Jussie Smollett's conviction on charges staging a racist homophobic attack against himself in 2019 and lying to the Chicago police, saying he should not have been charged a second time after reaching a deal with the prosecutors. The ruling, which did not address Smollett's continued claims of innocence, was the latest twist in the years-long saga. Smollett, who is black and gay, made headlines around the world after he told the police on January 2019 that two men assaulted him in his downtown Chicago neighborhood, shouting slurs, tossing a noose around his neck, and yelling that this was MAGA country, an apparent reference to Donald Trump's Make America Great Again presidential campaign slogan. The report prompted a massive search for the suspects by Chicago police, and investigators announced that they believed the attack was a hoax.
Yeah. This is what's so insane about this entire thing is Jussie Smollett, like, there's no way racist Trump supporters watch Empire. Who hate watches a TV show? Who has time for that other than YouTube reviewers?
According to pretty much every movie that doesn't do too well, everybody's a hate watcher.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is crazy. And again, Smollett, this whole thing that he concocted is algorithmically generated. This is algorithmic psychosis, what he did. He's like, oh, man, police shootings and all this black racial stuff gets propped up in the algorithm, so I'm going to fly to the top if I do this. And again, what's even crazier is Jussie Smollett was supposed to not be in Chicago at that time. He was supposed to be gone. His flight got delayed or got postponed for the next day. So this was like a last-minute thing.
Yeah.
So how could anybody have known that he would have been there? This is obviously planned. You know, I mean, the Osundairo brothers, the two large Nigerian men that were his white assailants, his racist white assailants, came out and said they strategized this whole thing. They did a rehearsal. They did everything. He scripted this whole process.
Yep. That's the next video I have pulled up right here. Since we're already talking about it, I'll go ahead and switch over to it right now.
Yeah. And again, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, this guy is so deluded. He's so insane that he thought that this was a good idea. And again, that article you're reading earlier, like, I mean, the article AP was like, he's black and gay. None of that should matter. It's just like, this guy lied.
It's a crime.
Yeah.
Whether or not him being his race and everything else has nothing to do with it. It's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Just try it as the crime that it is.
Assault
you should
and
not
battery.
have to bring in his race and his sexual
sexuality.
orientation into this at all. You should try every. What's the I forget.
It's
what's
not a
his name?
hate crime. It's just a crime.
Yeah, it's what that I forget what that one senator or whatever it is. I think it was Josh Hawley or whatever.
Murder is murder.
No, he says that the criminal our statue of criminal justice, the whole like iconic symbol of it is a lady that is blindfolded because justice is blind. It doesn't care what you look like. It's going to get to justice.
Yeah.
That's the exact
The
opposite.
law is blind.
Yeah, that's exactly the opposite of what critical race theory and all these racial
Well, it's the
justice
opposite,
issues
yeah.
are. It's like we have to be able to see their race so we know how much we need to charge them or not charge them.
Regardless of whether or not it was done because of racism, a crime is still the same crime. It's like if I murder someone and like I specifically did it because they were a different race than me, it's still murder. The crime should still be the same. It's like, oh, what, you add extra charges on because I dislike this race of people? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, as I say, you should get life in prison.
Yeah, it's
for
life in
murder,
prison or the death
regardless.
penalty for murder. It's like, oh, it's explicit because this reason. Like the reason is irrelevant. The reason is, again, blind, Lady Justice. It's blind justice. You're just supposed to be like, hey, that's murder. Or say again, if it in this case, Jussie Smollett, it's assault and battery. Granted, it was a fake planned assault and battery.
And again, but that's the problem is the left has to see everything through a racial lens. Like they have to see race. If you ignore race, you're a racist. But also, if you acknowledge race, you're still racist. It's the catch-22 conundrum. Like there's nothing you can do to not be racist.
Yes, it's absolutely insane. There's no winning. You're wrong no matter what you do. You just have to extol DEI and all this stuff and be like, oh, please, Lord of DEI, absolve me of my racial sins. You know, it's like, that's crazy. You know?
Well, I'll go ahead and play this then real quick. Yeah, this is the interview with the O'Dyron brothers, whatever their names are.
Yeah.
Did it? Yeah. It was us.
Extra with an exclusive first look at Jussie Smollett, Anatomy of a Hoax.
It was a crazy scene that Jussie put on, he even said,
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of.
I'm like, dang, you ain't your mother's son, buddy. Because this dude
Better get that birth certificate.
right.
And a new interview with Bola and Ola Osundaro's attorney, Gloria Rodriguez. Why did they agree to carry out this attack for Jussie in the first place?
Jussie was their friend, and they didn't want to betray their friend. And so at the end of the day, it was their trust that was taken advantage of.
I was down to do it because if we do this for him, he could probably help us out with our careers.
Jussie was someone who could really help their career. And beyond that, he was their friend. The documentary goes into great lengths about their feelings and how they felt when Jussie asked them to beat him up.
Hitting Fox Nation March 13th, the series goes into timeline detail about the attack and how Jussie choreographed the whole thing like a script that he was directing. And
There
the
he is
brothers
with that
take
noose
us back
around
to the scene.
This is where we waited for Jussie to come before we attacked him. After I threw him to the ground, I used my knuckle and gave him a noogie to give him a mark to make it look real.
That's where I came around with the bleach, the infamous bleach in the hot sauce bottle.
The
Bleach and
original
hot sauce.
plan Jussie had
That's
was
probably good enough, all we
Yeah.
need to see. But that is just amazing that this seems to be that. And this is the part that me and you have talked about. I was like, could you imagine if there was like a Trump supporter or just a white person in the area
At the
that
time,
they got and
they
got
would have
arrested?
dragged him through the mud. And like I said, Jussie wouldn't have cared that this guy's life would have been ruined. I mean, it's like the same as Kyle Rittenhouse. Nobody cared that. I mean, people are under the impression that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed black people. He only killed 2 white guys. Both of them were child abusing pedophiles.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be a good thing. But people were like, I can't believe he murdered black people. It's like, what are you talking about? He didn't shoot any black people.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it just goes to show you that again, the lie travels halfway around the world before the truth has time to tie its shoes. And what's sad is too for these Osundaro guys, like, look, if somebody is concocting a scheme to stay relevant, they probably can't help your career.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, that was the whole point he concocted because he was about to get fired from Empire,
Yeah.
from my
Or
understanding.
I don't know if he was going to get fired. I think they were doing a renegotiation. He was going to get a salary loss, not like a salary increase. And this happened. They were talking about salary increases. You know, it's like going, oh, another victim. We gotta lift up our gay black brothers. You know, and that we gotta lift them up and make sure that they will be taken care of for the rest of their life because he's a victim. You know, it's like you're not a victim. You scammed the whole country. You brought the whole country to a halt, and like everybody knew that this thing was retarded on its face. Like, this is dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. None of this can be real. But the media, the mainstream media, picked up on it and entertained it like it was absolutely real. I mean, Jussie Smollett had his own little interview where he was ridiculing his critics, going, I can't believe people don't think this is real. It's like, because it seems ridiculous on its face, man. Chicago, MAGA country? Really? Polar vortex, 2 a.m.? Somebody hates you so much that they were willing to risk themselves freezing to death out in the cold just so they could put a noose around your neck and pour bleach and hot sauce on you. That's insane. That, like, I mean, if that is what you think of like southern or like redneck trailer trash people, it's like, and you think that those kind of people exist that are like, I'll freeze out here in the snow and potentially die just so I can get me one of these black folk. You know, it's like, that's insane.
Yeah. People don't have enough time in the day to do this stuff
Again,
anymore.
it's like, yeah, the whole oppression thing is like the phantom white man, you know, that's out there holding you down. Like, we don't have enough time in the day to worry about stopping other people. We're trying to pay our own bills.
Yeah, especially in this economy.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I mean, why do you think there's a phantom group of, like, it's like the you remember Undercover Brother, the man,
Yeah.
the white man, the man is out there holding you down.
There's a man out there. There is a man that controls
Again,
everything.
we talked about this. It's like going, like these white privilege meetings. Where do they take place? When do they happen? How come I've never been invited?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the Eddie Murphy skit from SNL back in the day. It's like he goes in and like there's no black people in the store and like he's undercover as a white guy and the guy goes, "What are you doing?" He's trying to pay for I'm paying for this newspaper and he's like, "Yeah, there's no one here. Just take it."
Yeah.
And he learned that like white people get stuff for free. They get free bank loans. They get all this stuff. That's like this ridiculous mentality that like
the funniest one was where he got on the bus, and as soon as the black people got off the bus,
they started
threw
a party. Yeah, there was a party
That's
on
so
the bus.
weird.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the level of insanity that people like Jussie Smollett must live in. It's like, what are you talking about, man? Like that doesn't happen. But like I said, I guess maybe some people do actually entertain these ideas that, you know, there
they
is
clearly do. Like I said, with the election of Donald Trump, people still think that he's going to be the next Hitler, even though we all know he's already been president once and nothing bad happened to any of the people that he claimed that were going to happen to. It's crazy.
So again, it's sad that this is the state of affairs. And again, I think the prosecution did prosecutorial malfeasance in order to make sure Jussie walked. Because they are Soros-appointed DAs. If you don't know anything about George Soros is a billionaire who's been funding left-wing prosecutors and district attorneys to turn these giant cities into crap holes to basically make them fall apart.
Yes. And that's the other thing. I mean, people say that the George Soros thing is just a right-wing conspiracy. There are literally like countries of people that hate George Soros. Like George Soros is never allowed to come to their country again because he financially bankrupted them.
Yeah, it's again this like it's not just an American phenomenon, the hatred of George Soros. It's not just a right-wing conspiracy phenomenon. There are countries and other places around the world that will not allow him to come to their countries because they don't want to do business dealings with him. They don't want him to have any influence in their society and in their culture. So, again, it's not just an American phenomenon. But, yeah, no, again, Soros-appointed DA, very corrupt, buys into the whole DEI, buys into the whole 1619 project that America basically founded slavery. Forget the fact that slavery is in the Bible and is 2,000 years older. And, in fact, probably it's as old as time.
Yeah.
As long as man has existed, slavery has existed.
Yeah. Well, they say the longest professions throughout man history is war and prostitution, right? Are the two longest professions, and then I'd argue slavery is probably right behind that. Those two.
And the other thing too is slavery in the Bible is very different than other forms of slavery. At least the Jewish form of slavery is just kind of indentured servitude. You pay until you pay off your debts.
You're paying back your debtors. Yeah, that's why it's like the Lord's Prayer. Sometimes some people hear you say, "Forgive us our debtors, as we forgive those who debted against us."
Yeah. But again, I mean, slavery, one of the oldest institutions that's ever existed, but somehow it's uniquely American. It's uniquely unique and cruel to our society. It's like, no, it's not, man. Look at the Islamic slave trade. Look at what they did to all the African slaves that they took across sub-Sahara back up to the Middle East. I mean, you know why there's not that many African-looking Muslims? It's because they castrated all the dudes and took all the women as either house servants or pleasure slaves.
Yep. It's like that's the thing. They completely castrated them, so there would be no lineage of them anymore. I mean, there's a reason why there's no black grievance studies in the Middle East.
Yes, there is no black cultural studies in the Middle East because there ain't a lot of pure blood black people in the Middle East. And in fact, if you are a Middle Eastern black person who's like a mix of that, it's because your mom or your ancestors were consorts, essentially. So again, it's not uniquely American. In fact, I mean, I'm not going to justify slavery by any stretch of the mind, but you know, we are the country that ended slavery by fighting each other to end it. Yeah. So again, this whole racism narrative built around Jussie Smollett's case, it was generated by social media algorithms. Literally, think about this: the George Floyd, who's that first kid that got shot? It was the World War Zimmerman, George Zimmerman case.
George Zimmerman case.
All those unicorn events, and again, I say unicorn events because white people shooting black people or unarmed black men getting shot is a unicorn event. It happens maybe 9 times a year, if that. So I think it's anywhere from like 7 to 9 times. There are questionable circumstances in which black men are shot and killed. Questionable. Not unjustifiable, just questionable. But the social media algorithms pick up on that because hate sells. outrage sells. It's the reason why the climate change issue sells. It's like, if we're the end of the world is going to be in 12 years, people are going to look at that and be like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And if you don't believe in a higher authority, you don't believe in a God, you don't believe that God has a plan for you, you're like, well, we have to do it now. We have to bring paradise here on earth now. But again, the entire point of this is outrage sells. And Jussie Smollett, being a gay black guy that's in Hollywood and probably followed all those darn social media trends and followed all that clickbait outrage, was like, this is going to sell. I mean, if you're a marketer, you're like, this is a brilliant strategy on my part. Everybody in the world will know my name. And now everybody in the world does know Jussie Smollett's name. Granted, he's not famous. He's infamous.
Yeah.
So it's just sad, man, that, again, this is the social media algorithm manipulating people. And obviously, he had a choice not to do it, but he decided to do it. And again, his career's on the down. Now his name was at the top for a very short time, and then people were like, this is clearly BS. And here it is now. We're doing in the aftermath, and now he walks away scot-free. God willing, he'll be working at McDonald's for the rest of his days. But, I think he's the type of person that's like, that's beneath me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, hey, dude, I don't think anybody's going to hire you to be an actor anymore.
Yep. Said the next thing that we can kind of go to before we kind of wrap up the show is I have this meme here. It says, "Greetings, hippie man. I'm from the year 2024. Liberalism wins in the end. We basically run all the institutions right now. Far out, man. Did we end all the wars, improve our health, and protect freedom of speech?" The guy from the future is kind of thinking for a second. Goes, "Are you an effing Nazi?"
That's true, man. Again, the left they're the party of censorship. They're the party of big corporations. They're definitely the party of big pharma with the whole trust the science, take the vax. And again, same with the climate. It's like, trust the science. There are no reputable scientific studies. They just have these projection models going, the world's going to end in 12 years. Well, every projection ever done about climate change and world-ending predictions have been wrong. I mean, I think the only thing that they were ever even close to being right on was the fact that there are some holes in the holes in the ozone layer now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's about it.
That's right. I would say so anyway. Yeah, there's some holes caused by this in the
ozone layer,
but that's really about it. I mean, I don't know what else to talk about. I mean, it's like it's always been climate change has always been something to try to pass policies. Is just literally a political stunt to try to pass
to
political
seize power.
policies.
That's all it is. It's about power. We're going to scare you with these climate change projections and with these racial, the police officers are out to get you. It's all fear. Everything the Democrats are selling you now, it's fear. The white man's coming to get you. The police officers are coming to get you. The climate's coming to get you. It's going to change. We're destroying the world. Mm-hmm. They're selling you fear, lies, slander, so they can attain more power.
Yep. Next one I have here is another cartoon by SKS Cartoons,
mm-hmm.
and it's of course it's British. You're not allowed to have that. They handed over their firearms. And it says first, and it says second. Second, freedom of speech. You're not allowed to do that. And which, it's not. They're not allowed to have freedom of speech in Great Britain right now. You will get arrested for posting things online.
Yeah, there are kids getting arrested for saying somebody looks gay or somebody looks weird. Or it's like, that one little girl said that police officer, that bull dyke looking lesbian police officer that was coming to criticize her social media, goes, "You look like my lesbian aunt," and they're like, "You're under arrest, little girl."
Yeah, I remember that. And then here's this one right here. Now you're under arrest for hate speech, and he's just wearing a shirt with the English flag on it, or the British flag on it.
Yeah, I think J.D. Vance made a fantastic joke about this. What's the first Middle Eastern or what's the first predominant Muslim country that's going to have nuclear weapons? And he said the UK. Because the UK is turning into an Islamic country. I mean, like I said, mass immigration has literally changed the demographics of that. I mean, they have a Muslim mayor, for crying out loud. It's crazy.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely crazy.
It's very true.
I mean, there are places that practice Sharia law in that country where they're in their own little isolated box, and they have honor. What do you call them? What do you call the Sharia law enforcers?
Yeah.
They go in and they will literally do honor killings and stuff there. They'll be like, "Hey, you're not allowed to do that. You're showing too much ankle there, lady." So you have to be. I mean, the UK is falling. And again, that JD Vance, as funny as the joke was, it's just kind of a sad reality.
I mean, people forget that was the whole purpose. If everyone remembers, what was that movie with Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson?
Yeah, where he goes to save his daughter.
Oh, yeah. That's Taken.
Taken, yeah. Taken was based off the Muslim grooming gangs in the UK. That's what it was based off of.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Tommy Robinson was the one that exposed that. I mean, that's literally the reason why that movie got made, was Tommy Robinson exposing that. That's how he got his rise to fame.
Yeah. Interesting.
But anyway, then this next one here, which we kind of all figured this, but according to the Polish, this is I meme, therefore I am, is from him. And it says, according to the former Polish deputy minister, Piotr Klupla, and Ukrainian authorities have allegedly siphoned off over half of the U.S. aid money sent to their countries has been redirected back to the Democratic Party through laundering schemes. Is anyone surprised? And it says here's the article. Polish official says half the U.S. aid money to Ukraine was stolen and laundered back to the Democrats, which would explain
why they were so gung-ho about passing all that legislation.
Yep. And also why there was an attempt on Trump's life.
Yeah, a lot of people's pockets were going to be a lot less stuffed.
By the Ukrainian government. They're like, hey, you mean to tell me we've got a guy coming into office that's probably not going to be funding us anymore? Maybe we should, this is all allegedly, maybe we should try to get this one, crazy American guy that came here to work for us to take him out.
And remember, how many Democrats and how many Republicans are on the boards of Boeing? How many of them are on the boards of all these weapons contractor companies that they have? So even if the money comes back, they're still lining their pockets by making sure they're investing in the right companies. But again, that should not surprise you. I mean, what's his name? Zelensky's probably lining his pockets. I mean, you don't think he has an escape out of that country?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
And that's your taxpayer dollars. It's like just disappearing or going right back into the arms of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm. And this next one here is one that you sent me. It says, Texas man will not be charged for beating daughter's molester to death. And then it says over here in the European Union, father throws chair at judge after the driver that killed his 2-year-old daughter and her grandparents in a car accident only got 120 hours of community service.
Again, that's right. 2-tier justice system for immigrants. I mean, granted, thank God that's in the UK, but this is what we were talking about with the Daniel Penny case last week. That Texas guy beating his daughter's molester to death, that's a society I'm okay with living in. Is it a good thing that he did that? No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. But I would rather live in Texas where everyone can be like, I get it, bro. I get it. And not in New York where it's like, sorry, Mr. Penny, we know you stood up and were a responsible citizen protecting other people, but that's not your job. In fact, we're going to prosecute you for it, and God willing, we'll put you in jail because you're not allowed to protect other people. Yeah. Again, it's like what I was saying yesterday. It's like whenever that chick in Philadelphia that got R-worded or,
on the train.
Got R-worded on the train. It's like everybody just filmed it. They're like, don't worry, man, we got you. He's going to jail for sure. I've got a good angle on his face, and I've got a good angle of what he's doing to you, ma'am. Is that where you want to live in? Is that the society you want to live in? Again, it's like what I said last time. Or do you want all those guys on that train to be like, well, time to collectively whoop somebody's ass?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
But no, again, it's like the guy who was helping Daniel Penny went into hiding because he was like, I don't want to go to jail.
And then they gave him immunity.
Yeah.
The judge gave him immunity because Alvin Bragg was like, no, we're only going to try the white guy.
What society do you want to live in? What rules do you want to cultivate? I want to live in that Texas society where everybody's like, hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Protect your kids. I mean, do it. Yeah. It's not, I don't know if I agree with the outcome of it, but I guarantee you, if anybody had the chance, if somebody happening to one of your daughters, nobody's going to judge you if you sit there and you just pound the guy's face in until it's mush underneath you. It's like, I get it, brother. I get it.
Mm-hmm. But
no, we're creating a society of weak men who will just do this instead. Like, all right, don't worry. We're going to get this guy. He's not going to get off. we won't. Hopefully, we don't have a Soros DA appointed to our jurisdiction here. But I've got some good footage, man. So,
yeah, which brings me to my next and probably final point before we switch all this over is Democrats and their people that support them and all their policies constantly supporting criminals over the victims.
oh, is this that Innocent Project video?
Yes, this is the Innocent Project video.
There should be a new name for the Innocence Project. It should be called the Innocence Project because it is like everybody in there is the most guilty person ever, but they just try to use technicalities or they throw away evidence that's inconvenient in order to get these people back out on the streets. In fact, Joe Rogan had this one guy on that I can't even remember the guy's name, but I guess I should have the video.
Josh Dublin, but the guy that did that murder was Sheldon Johnson.
Again, and this is where Joe Rogan has his blind spot on for being too liberal for his own good. It's like they brought in a guy named Sheldon who was convicted of murder, and then the Innocence Project came out, got this guy released, and then he went back and murdered somebody and like disposed of the body in his sinks, and he carried out bags of, what he couldn't get disposed, he brought out in bags. And he was on Joe Rogan, and he was like, yeah, I'm reformed, man. And I didn't do nothing that should have got me locked up, I mean, I was cool, I just punched a dude, and he, and robbed a girl and a guy and his lady for not paying me back my drug money.
The part that he doesn't say is that he was with a bunch of kids that were all looking up to him, and they beat that guy, like I think almost to death.
Yeah, he was the ringleader.
Mm-hmm.
He probably gave the green light. And again, who would have thought that a convicted criminal is going to lie to make himself look better? Well, apparently not Joe Rogan. And this Innocent Project guy, we just want, again, there are too many movies about like the Denzel Washington movie, The Hurricane.
Yep.
Where it's like the black community has become so obsessed with the unicorn circumstances where a black man is wrongfully convicted that they hope the Innocence Project is that group that's like, we hope every case is that Hurricane story. We hope every case is that justified, delivered story where we can be like, we're going to be the heroes. And again, they are. The Innocence Project touts themselves as the heroes, as the saviors of these people coming out. It's like, and all of a sudden they go right back into criminality, and they're like, who would have guessed? I mean, well, it's not, they didn't actually do the crime. The system, the prison system, turned them into this monster. It's like, no, it didn't. They were already criminals. You just want to throw away the evidence that makes them look bad or ignore it and be like, no. That's just this evil, racist white society that we live in that did that. That's what caused this.
Yeah. We probably won't get too far into this. We'll just watch like the first couple of minutes of it. We can go more into this tomorrow because we're running out of time. But we'll play the first couple of minutes where they talk about this whole situation. And like this guy, you can tell this guy is embarrassed. And I wish Joe Rogan would press him more on it. And Joe Rogan does not really press him that much on it.
Yeah. This is one of Joe's weakest interviews. But like I said, this is a weak spot because he believes in criminal justice reform. And sure, there might be a little bit of reform, but like I said, they always presume that these guys are innocent or they're better than they are. It's like, no, man, we're all sinners.
All right, I'll go ahead and play this video then.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So, I guess we just get right into it. But the last case that we talked about, we had a very unfortunate incident happen after the podcast, about a month later.
Yeah.
The gentleman beheaded somebody.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly. Yeah. There's a lot of allegedlys, but
allegedly,
there was so many crazy things to that case. The craziest thing was him trying to fool the security cameras with a wig. Like, I guess he didn't know how high resolution cameras had gotten over the 25 years that he was in jail.
I mean, apparently there's a lot he didn't know.
Yeah.
The only reason I say allegedly is because I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I started calling him guilty before he has a trial. But
of course,
based on the surveillance,
it doesn't.
You can't even look Joe Rogan in the eye.
What do they say in Texas? It ain't too shiny.
It's so crazy because, we went out with him that evening. We brought him to the comedy club. He was hanging out with us in the green room. And then the news broke. And then the comics were all like, hey, man, what the fuck? What the fuck you doing bringing that guy around? I'm like, well, we didn't know.
I mean...
Who could have known he was going to do that?
You kind of knew. He was in jail.
I'm as shocked over it now as I was in the moment. I mean, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, this is where we'll stop here. If you want to watch this whole little interview, you can. But this is a weak man. This is a weak man who buys into the racist America lie, and he believes all this nonsense. And again, doesn't do it full research. Like, he just does enough research to understand how can we get these guys off. They don't look at the prosecutorial side. They just go, we looked at the defense side, threw out the prosecution stuff that we didn't like, and then just keep bothering people and keep bothering the judges and keep bottling the justice system until they let these guys out. Just by looking at the defense stuff for these bad guys. If you don't look at the stuff that makes them guilty, then you clearly don't care. You just care about... This guy doesn't care about whether or not these men are innocent or not. He cares about growing this Innocence Project to get more donations to keep doing it. Like, I mean, he's lining his pockets. He doesn't care the fact that he's letting these people back out in the streets. He doesn't care what these people do. He doesn't care how it affects the victims' families. Again, they never once mention the victims and the victims of their previous victims. Like, again, they're just talking about the new victims. They don't go, well, what about the people that of the Julius Jones case, where like they got that guy. They got Julius Jones, a killer here in Oklahoma, not commuted, but he doesn't get the execution anymore. They're not going to execute him anymore. Mm-hmm. But thank goodness Stint didn't allow it. But I mean, a new governor could come in and be like, well, I release him now. Because that's how much power the Innocence Project has. They're well-funded. This guy's lining his pockets. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the actual victims of these murders. They just care about the murderers and getting them out and lining their pockets with that big donor money.
Yes. That is 100%.
It's sad. That's what this is. This Innocence Project is a scam. And it's a scam for the original victims of these murderers. Because they told the DEI race-hustling lie that this is a white, privileged, evil, right, racist American society where the system convicted this man. The mythical man, convicted these innocent black men. And then they release, they go out into society, and they do what they do best. Kill again.
Start killing again. Yeah, but that's about it, man. That's about all we got. Like I said, we'll probably go more in detail about that interview in the next show, unless something just new groundbreaking happens. I don't know what it is. It's been a slow news week for the last couple of weeks now, so it's been hard to find like really interesting topics unless we go just delve into something that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was debating whether or not to just make today a meme review, but
yeah, honestly,
I think that's about all we've got today. Was there anything else you wanted to show before we?
No, we'll probably save that for next week. I've got this one that was sent to us by one of our listeners, and I'm going to play us out with this video because I thought it was pretty funny.
All right, well, this is the Twins with Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that's all we've got for you today. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
¿Qué pues, pinche gringo mamón? Si tengo mi green card.
Thanks for your collaboration. And remember, don't come back again.
Y el gringo nos quiere cobrar el muro. Dile que no, pinche gringo racista. Pues no te pagaremos nada.